Hello guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the complete case against endocrine disruptors. So, what are endocrine disruptors? Endocrine disruptors are basically chemicals which bind to your estrogen receptors. So estrogen is the female hormone and testosterone is the male hormone. Keep this in mind. So, endocrine disruptors go into your cells, they bind to your estrogen receptors in every cell, and think of it like Minecraft. In Minecraft, when you get the poison effect, it damages you throughout a long period of time. And it's the same thing with endocrine disruptors. They go into your cells and for weeks, maybe even years, they release estrogen and make you develop more like a woman. So we're going to be taking a look at these types of endocrine disruptors today. Microplastics, polyester, atrazine, birth control, phthalates, phytoestrogens such as ZEA and soy, parabens and EMFs. So keep this in mind, right? Female hormone, estrogen, testosterone, male hormone. So what estrogen does inside of you is it makes you develop like a ugly woman. It makes you develop gyno, sexy hips, a softer voice, less body hair, and it's gonna lead to higher body fat development inside of your body. So you're gonna end up looking like this guy, for example. So not many people know this, but the average man is running on half the testosterone of his grandfather. So in 1980, it is said the average testosterone level was 576 nanograms per deciliter, whereas today it's closer to 300. So take a look at this photo, right? So on average, 1 in 5 men are actually infertile. So this can be your friend group, your family, and one of those 5 guys you know and you may be thinking of right now is infertile, or is soon gonna be. Alright, so here we have the first category of endocrine disruptors. We have microplastics, aka bisphenols. So these can be found in water bottles, food can linings, and thermal paper receipts. So microplastics are tiny pieces of plastic as small as 1 nanometer even, which shed from any plastic object, and they are found everywhere. In every single plastic object leaches them. So for example, even in sea salt, because you have a lot of microplastics in the salt, plastic obviously, milk cartons, cans, tap water, clothes, etc. We'll touch on tap water and clothes later. Even breast milk and blood has been found to contain a lot of microplastics. So when plastic gets warmed up, it releases way more microplastics. Same thing with fats or alcohol, etc. So we have water bottle plus the sun. If, for example, the sun or anything else warms up this plastic water bottle, the microplastic content inside of the water is going to be way more than if it were at room temperature, let's say. If you have something fatty inside of a bottle like oil or butter, something like that, it's going to leach way more because endocrine disruptors and estrogenics bind to fat. So the same thing is with body fat, you know. If you have a fat guy, he's gonna have way more estrogen in him than a fit guy because fat stores all the estrogen. One of the most common chemicals is BPA, bisphenol A. But BPA is kind of mainstream nowadays. You know, a lot of people know the BPA, and it actually has become banned in EU in a lot of things. But let's say in the USA it's not banned. But in the countries where it is, they can just alter the chemical by like 1% and create something new like BPS. So a lot of times these new chemicals can actually be way more harmful than the original one because, you know, not a lot of research has been done into the new ones, and it's gonna take them like 5-10 years to ban the new ones. So just be wary of this. Like some products might say BPA free or whatever. Do not always believe that, because they can just replace BPA with a different chemical and call it a day. So one of the biggest contributors to BPA inside of you might actually be receipts, because, you know, receipts are completely made of BPA, aka plastics, and when you touch it, you know, your body heat as well as your sweat and so on makes contact with the BPA and it leaches inside of you like 10 times faster. So what I recommend is never accept receipts and never touch them, and if you work with them like you're a cashier or something, always wear gloves, trust me. Alright, so here's an interesting fact. When we have water inside of a plastic bottle, the plastics are absolutely everywhere because water is a liquid and moves around. Whereas we have some food in a plastic container, only the parts that are touching the container contain plastics. And that is, this middle part is not going to make contact with the plastic. So this is why it's better to have some solid things such as food inside of plastics and not to have like liquids inside of plastics, because liquids move around whereas solid things don't. So this is actually a crazy thing, right? 100% of humans have been found to have microplastics inside of them. Even tribes like the Inuits, which live all the way in the Arctic, even they have been found to have microplastics inside of them. you know, even though their diet consists of wild-caught fish and so on. And, you know, also women with higher plastic exposure during pregnancy, or their kids have been found to have a smaller penis on average and be way less hormonally functional as adults. I recommend you immediately stop consuming things out of plastics because it's gonna have long-term effects on your child. This is a plastic cutting board. You may have one of these at home, and these lines you see here, this white part, this is actually all plastic. You know, all of this you can see has been shaved off into your food. So this is actually a giant contributor to microplastics in a lot of people's diets. So what I recommend you do is just throw out the plastic cutting board immediately and buy a wooden one. Trust me, this is going to make a huge difference. Then what I believe is the #1 contributor to microplastics inside of a human diet is tea. So tea bags are actually made of paper but also plastic, and some of them are made of entirely plastic. So what I recommend you do is to put the tea out of the bags into a filter and then just use that. I'm gonna put a picture up on screen what I mean. And also, like, steeping a single commercial plastic bag in your boiling water releases billions of microplastics and nanoplastic particles into your cup. This is crazy because a lot of people drink, what, 2-3 cups a day, and you're absolutely macrodosing microplastics inside your diet. Also, have you ever thought about this? Like, you have these containers, like for example you have paper cups, right? But if you were to put water in it, what would happen? The paper cup would get soggy and the water would pour out, right? So this is why they put a plastic lining inside of these cups. So when you put something hot inside of it, or even cold, all the plastic from the cup is going into the liquid because, you know, they have to put a plastic lining inside of it. Same thing with like milk boxes or energy drinks, because, you know, the same thing is applied to these. So plus you have heat and substances like fat, you know, we already talked about that. So also a huge contributor can be like plastic toothbrushes. You know, they contribute 2.8 million microplastic particles a year. So that's quite a significant amount. So I recommend you switch that out to a wooden one or a bamboo one, just to be safe, you know. It's not going to be the biggest contributor of microplastics, but like it plays a huge part anyway. And a small thing you can do is, whenever you go to the butcher's to buy some meat, you ask for it to be packaged in butcher's paper and not plastic, because, you know, meat is fatty and so on. So this is a quick fix, but it's not going to make a giant difference, as for example stopping drinking tea from tea bags and so on. Alright, so our second category is polyester. Polyester is a material most commonly used for clothes made entirely out of plastic. So you're gonna see a lot of polyester in the gym, like t-shirts like this, but when you work out in these clothes and it mixes with your sweat, with your body heat, it all goes into your body because your skin is your largest organ. So I recommend switching these out for normal wool or cotton clothes, and even switching out your protein shaker for a stainless steel one like I have, because it's like a giant fix. You know, this isn't really polyester, but this sort of correlates with the gym and polyester shirts and so on. So in 1993 there was a study where they put groups of dogs and they put different types of underwear onto them. Some had no underwear, some had cotton underwear, and some had polyester underwear. So the dogs who had 100% polyester underwear on them have actually been found to go infertile. Alright, so this is why I never want to wear polyester underwear. Make sure it's 95% cotton and 5% spandex. This can be optional, you know, the spandex is just this waistband, and the rest should be cotton, because spandex is a material that makes it kind of stretchy, you know. Yes, it's made of plastic, it's gonna have some downsides, but you cannot really avoid it. So 5% spandex is pretty okay, just make sure it's not polyester, it's cotton. Our next category is atrazine and other pesticides as well as herbicides. So atrazine and herbicides is what they basically spray crops with. Now atrazine is banned in the EU but is still legal in the USA. So what atrazine does, they basically spray it on crops to avoid like mold as well as bugs from eating the crops, but it actually doesn't wash off, it doesn't get destroyed, you know, it doesn't really wash off, so it ends up in your food. Like for example, they spray some crops with atrazine, then a cow eats the crops, right, because it's fed, then you eat the cow, and all the atrazine from this tractor, then you eat the cow, but the meat is like infected with atrazine, it still has it on, because atrazine doesn't really wash off or get destroyed like some other substances. And atrazine is really bad for you. Like, remember this guy, Alex Jones, like 10 years ago he went on a podcast and he went insanely viral because he was quoting a study where they put male frogs into water that had quite a big amount of atrazine in it, and the research showed that these frogs who were exposed to atrazine started to turn into females, and they started to lay eggs as well as get pregnant. So the same thing is going to happen to you, but obviously not to that degree. Like, you're going to start developing as a woman and so on. But atrazine is really dangerous because it cannot be broken down naturally. Like, yes, if it goes to the soil, yes, it does disintegrate quite a bit, but usually it ends up in water, and you're gonna drink the water, you're gonna eat the wild caught fish, so on. You're gonna think you're healthy, right? But all those fish and the water is infected with atrazine most of the time. So this is why I recommend everyone buys a reverse osmosis filter with active charcoal. Now this is gonna set you back around $300, right? But it's a very big life changer. It filters out all the hormones, all the atrazine and so on in your drinking water. And you might be thinking that water plants already do this, but no, that's not true, because water plants are built to filter out bacteria, dirt, but actually not hormones. So same thing is with the next thing we're going to talk about, which is birth control pills and other hormones in your water. So this is why you need to buy one of these to be optimally healthy. So you might be thinking you're just going to buy products which say bio on them, right? This is actually a big marketing scam, because bio herbicides are bullshit. They just use like a more natural version of, let's say, atrazine, but it still has the same effects on you. So, or they put a lower dose on it where it's considered like, no, it hasn't been sprayed or whatever. But never trust this. It's the same thing. Like, they're just gonna upsell you, right? Alright, so the next endocrine disruptor we're gonna be looking at is birth control. Birth control are the pills women take to not get pregnant, and they work by massively increasing estrogen inside of the girl's body. So the same thing is gonna happen to you, right? Because a woman, when she takes birth control, she pisses it out. Then the water filtration facility obviously doesn't filter out hormones, because hormones are way smaller than dirt, bacteria and so on. So the water comes out clean, but it's still going to have all the hormones inside of it. Then when you drink tap water, you're going to ingest all of those hormones from the birth control, and this is going to massively increase your estrogen levels. So as I said, you know, buy the reverse osmosis system. It's just like $300. Save up for it, you know, save up for a month or two, then call a plumber, or even you can do it. It's pretty easy, and then just set it up. It's a game changer, bro, trust me. Alright, the next category we're going to be taking a look at are phthalates. So phthalates are endocrine disruptors, most commonly found in personal care products, but they're also mixed into plastic containers like water bottles to make plastic flexible. Let's say you're taking a shower and you're lathering yourself in some Old Spice or whatever, in Dove, right? Your whole body, because your skin is your largest organ, so your whole fucking body is absorbing estrogen, because every single body wash and soap is made with phthalates, because, you know, of the fragrances, so it smells nice. I just recommend a quick fix. Like, when you're going to be putting on fragrance, I recommend you spray it on clothes and not your body, because if you spray fragrance on your body, you're going to be absorbing that the whole day, you know. Just put it on your clothes, you're going to be okay. And as well, switch to natural alternatives such as Native or Dr. Squatch. Now, I'm not sponsored, but if they want to, come on, I'm open. You know my email address. So Native, for example, it says silicone free, sulfate free, paraben free. This is very good. You know, this is like 10 times better than normal shower gel, normal soaps. So our next category is parabens. Parabens are found in beauty products to kill mold and bacteria. They're found, you know, in soaps, makeup, beauty products, as I said. They're very commonly used together with phthalates in a lot of products, because, you know, flexibility plus microplastics plus the fragrance plus to kill the mold, you know. So it's just like a concoction of everything you don't want inside of you. So as I said, I recommend switching to natural alternatives. Alright, our next category are PFAs. So PFAs are chemicals most commonly found in non-stick pans as well as makeup. So if you have a Teflon pan, I recommend just throwing it out. But if it has a scratch or many scratches like this one here, I recommend throwing it out immediately, because PFAs are forever chemicals. They're immune to heat, immune to fats, water. They don't break down, so they just stay in the environment and also in your body for a very, very, very long time and leach endocrine disruptors and destroy your health. They can also lead You know, PFAS can also lead to other sicknesses, and also heavy metals and so on. So our next category are phytoestrogens, which are the natural estrogenics. So the first one we're going to be covering is soy. So I remember last week I was eating a protein bar and I looked at the contents and it says soy lecithin, and I was like, what the fuck, bro? Why is there soy in fucking everything, bro? Go to the grocery store, pick up a random thing, a candy bar, a chocolate, protein bar, whatever. Everything is gonna have this shit in it, soy lecithin. It's used as a common food additive used in protein bars as an emulsifier and binder. And I was like, what the fuck, can I not even eat a fucking protein bar? It's absolutely trash, bro. And I suspect countries with a lot of soy consumption, such as a lot of Asian countries like Japan, Korea, who eat a lot of tofu and soy sauce, is it really crazy to say that they have a low birth rate and low testosterone because of this? Is it really? Now, I mean, if you eat soy sauce, it's not as bad, because when soy or other estrogen is fermented, a lot of the estrogenic content is actually broken down, so it's not as bad as eating raw like soy off the fucking bean, right? So just be wary of this, you know, don't really eat soy. It's one of the worst things. It's one of the highest estrogenic things in nature, so cut out soy completely and look at the content bar on whatever you're eating. Look at the ingredients on whatever you're eating and make sure you don't eat anything with soy in it. Alright, our next phytoestrogen is ZEA. ZEA is a highly estrogenic mold that grows on grains and you indirectly consume it. So let's say this wheat has some ZEA on it, right? Because it's moldy. It has been sitting in the silo for a year. Then a cow eats this moldy grain, which it shouldn't. Then you eat the hamburger made out of the fucking wheat for the buns, and the meat, this also has some ZEA in it. This is like estrogenic bomb. So I recommend you eat high quality meat, high quality everything from farmers, you know, from a butcher shop you trust and so on, because ZEA is highly estrogenic and, you know, it's almost like, and it's fucking invisible, right? So you never know you're actually eating it. So make sure you're eating from sources that you highly trust. Alright, our next natural estrogenic you need to look out for is flaxseed. So a lot of girls actually take flaxseed every day to increase their breast size, and the same thing is gonna happen to you, right? And not in a good way. Like, you're not gonna grow fucking pecs, right? You're gonna have an increase in estrogen, you're gonna have lower sperm count, you're gonna develop gyno, plus it's a seed, so seed oils, they're gonna make you allergic to the sun because of the phytic acid content and so on. And these are eyes. Honorable mention goes to weed and lavender. You know, inhaling estrogen makes it worse than consuming it, so smoking, incense, so on. So just, you know, quit these things. Don't use lavender incense, don't really use any incense, it's made from chemicals anyway. You know, lavender, yeah, it smells pretty nice, but it's not really worth the estrogen. This is just a quick fix though. You know, it's not the main part in your estrogenic intake. So our next category is EMFs. EMF means electromagnetic frequencies. These are basically invisible electromagnetic waves, think of them like radio waves, which come from every electronic device, and they basically destroy your testosterone, though they're not really an endocrine disruptor in normal level like the ones we looked at, which are related to plastic and so on. But I chose to include them because they're still affecting a lot of people today and not many people know about them. So basically, when you put your phone in your pocket, like it's this close, and then you have every option on, like mobile data, Wi-Fi, fucking hotspot, Bluetooth, so on, it all sends out invisible waves everywhere. But those waves go in 360 degrees. They also go to your balls, right? So this is tanking your testosterone, killing your sperm mobility, you're killing your sperm, so on. And also the heat from the device is also killing your sperm. So make sure you always carry your phone in your hand, or put it in a bag, backpack, so on. I never want to see you with your phone in your pocket. If I see you IRL with your phone in your pocket, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you. Trust, bro. This is the number one thing you can do for your sperm and also for your testosterone. You know, this thing can also cause varicoceles and so on. Like basically when your balls twist up, and yeah, this can be caused from this actually. A lot of people have gained varicoceles from EMF radiation. Just be wary of this. Always carry your phone in your hand, bro, trust me. So always keep your phone in airplane mode anyway. You don't need fucking Bluetooth, Wi-Fi at all times. So if you're home, you have Wi-Fi, just put it on airplane mode. you're gonna have way less EMF radiation in your room, and it's gonna stack up. So what can we do to reverse the effects of endocrine disruptors, right? So the first thing obviously is reduce contact as much as possible. You know, switch out your plastic bottle for a metal one, switch out your clothes, you know, your polyester clothes for cotton, wool, and so on, because it really stacks up. The things you do today may not be visible, but in 10, 20 years there's going to be a massive difference in people who did this and the people who just neglected this. So, you know, plastic water bottle, switch it to a metal one, as I did. Fucking great. 3 years now. Cheers. So the second best thing you can do is sweat it out, because when you sweat out all the toxins inside of your body, including endocrine disruptors. So this can be achieved through sauna and cardio. So cardio cannot be as consistent because you're going faster, you're going slower, you're tired out, but sauna is the best thing. So you can see he's sweating out endocrine disruptors. This is why sweat stings, because it has all the bacteria, the poisons, and so on. The third best thing you can do is losing body fat. So this is like a downward spiral. So if you have a lot of fat on you, you're gonna keep more of the estrogen from the endocrine disruptors inside of you. If you have more endocrine disruptors inside of you, therefore more estrogen, you're gonna put on more fat. So it's a downward spiral, you know. So lose body fat, go to the gym at least 3 times a week, do cardio, go to the sauna, do a caloric deficit, anything, bro. You're gonna look better anyway. You see this fat guy, he's really fat, and he has gyno because of all the estrogen. You know, then you have the basics, how to improve testosterone, you know, sleep 8 to 9 hours every day, weightlifting 3 times minimum a week, clean meat-based diet, this is every micronutrient, eggs, red meat, dairy, so on. Everyone knows this, I just thought I'd mention it because, you know, keep this in mind. Then also you want to eat high animal fat, you know, it supports correct hormonal function, such as butter, because butter is high in cholesterol. You're not gonna die from cholesterol, that's fucking bullshit studies, you know. Cholesterol is the direct precursor for sex hormones such as testosterone. Vegan is cope, because you cannot get in enough cholesterol, enough micronutrients, so just make sure you're eating enough animal fats on a daily basis. Next best thing you can do is tanning, being outside in the sun. Even when it's cloudy outside, just trust me, go outside, some of the sun rays will penetrate you. Like if you go outside and you can see even a little bit, it's better than being inside, because you know, being outside in the sun produces vitamin D, which is essential for your hormones. You can also supplement this. And when you go outside in the sun in summer, like on a vacation, make sure you absolutely never wear sunscreen, because sunscreen is highly estrogenic, and when it's combined with the UV rays of the sun, it goes inside of your cells, it penetrates into the cells harder, and it releases estrogen for years and years on like a very high basis. So replace your sunscreen with beef tallow with some zinc oxide if you want to be in the sun for prolonged times. Here are some supplements you can take. So eat a lot of organs like liver, drink some blood perhaps. Then we have some supplements such as ashwagandha or tonkat ali. Now I don't really know about these because when I take them I don't really notice a big difference, but you can try and you can tell me if you really felt a difference. But you know, you're not gonna feel like a massive difference. Then you want to be eating a lot of raw oysters, even cooked ones are pretty good because they're really high in zinc, and zinc is one of the most essential things for your hormones, for testosterone. Then I've been taking vitamin D3, 10,000 IUs every day for like the past 3 years. And trust me, this is a huge game changer. No, you're not gonna get fucking toxicity, you're not gonna die, it's very good for you. Because, you know, many people can't afford a proper animal-based diet, so help yourself with these things. Vitamin D3 is one of the best things you can take. I recommend everyone takes 10,000 IU. That's like the anything less, you're not gonna feel difference. Anything more, I wouldn't recommend. And my last bit of advice, which is kind of controversial, is TRT if you're older, like 20 plus. And here's my reasoning. So, estrogenics reduce testosterone unnaturally. TRT, testosterone, unnaturally boosts it to the levels of your grandfather and what they were supposed to be. So, I recommend if you're older and you haven't really noticed a big difference, even after implementing all my advice, cutting out estrogenics, so on, I recommend you ask your doctor and he prescribe you some TRT, because this is gonna boost you all the way up to like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 nanograms per deciliter, and there aren't really any negative risk to it. Because when people talk about the negative risk of TRT, they usually talk about, you know, they group everyone together. They talk about the bodybuilders who take like fucking 1 gram of testosterone every day or some shit, and yeah, obviously that has some downsides to it, like use your mind. But for a normal person taking TRT, you're not gonna have really any downsides, is what I've heard, what I've studied. You know, haven't really tried TRT in my life, I'm too young, so this is my advice. And I really recommend, if you're interested in this topic, you read this book Estrogeneration by Anthony J. This is a very, very good book. I've read it like 2 times, and you know, it gave me the inspiration to record this whole video, because the advice in it is very, very solid. It's a very interesting book, and I recommend everyone reads it for like the public good. Alright, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment to boost the algorithm, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.